From MTN News, this is Montana This Morning.
Northwestern Energy is getting reports in Butte of door-to-door salesmen making claims that are not true.
Israel's prime minister responds to the outcry for a ceasefire and hostage deal. I'm Jared Hill with the latest on the war in Gaza and why new U.S. charges against Hamas are seen as largely symbolic.
I'm Megan Thompson here in Uptown Butte, and coming right up, I speak with the owner of this new medical facility after she recently completed an ADA-compliant ramp outside of her facility. I also speak with the city officials about an upcoming open meeting seeking input on how to make Butte more accessible.
Coming up, I talked to a local artist out of Fort Benton who makes amazing sculptures out of an everyday item that you might just have on your ranch.
All right, 6 o'clock on this Wednesday morning. Jane McDonald, Matt Elwell with you bright and early. And well, if I were to make a sculpture out of things found at the Elwell house, I would assume maybe Lego pieces or...
There's plenty of that going around.
Yeah, maybe, sport equipment or things like that.
There's plenty of that as well.
All right, I'll get my artistic hat on, see if I can make something avant-garde.
I'll be impressed if you can even gather all the items.
Avant-Elwell, yeah.
All right, air quality doing okay. Bozeman and West Yellowstone right now, good.
Canada.
But we're still, Canada is having a tough time out there.
Woof.
Very unhealthy to nearly hazardous in several locations there. So there's kind of the flip side. We'll get more of a north wind, and I think that we will get better, at least in the short term, with air quality. Daytime temperatures should build pretty nicely from where we are now. We're looking at pretty quiet conditions for most of the day today. Jumping to our day planner, daytime highs today staying into the 70s. It should be pleasant. We'll talk more about what you can expect more long-term coming up in just a few minutes.
All right, thank you very much, Matt. Well, aggressive salespeople are making false claims in Butte. MTN's John Amy tells us Northwestern Energy is warning customers about solar panel salesmen misrepresenting themselves.
Northwestern Energy here in Butte is warning its customers in Butte and around the state to be wary of door-to-door solar panel salesmen who are falsely claiming to be connected to Northwestern and making offers that are probably too good to be true.
And it's this aggressive kind of pushy sales that we're getting reports on from Missoula to Billings and everywhere in between.
Last month, some Butte residents reported encountering a person selling solar panels and claiming to be employed with Northwest Energy. However, this person couldn't produce any valid identification.
If somebody's showing up at your doorstep saying they're Northwestern Energy, unless there is a service issue, it is not us. It's a misrepresentation of our brand, and that is false.
The utility says this has been a widespread issue lately.
Our customer care center has encountered this in a number of our communities, and we feel very, we regret that some people have fallen victim for this.
The salesman would falsely claim that Northwestern Energy would pay for the installation of the solar panels. The utility says there are many ways to tell if a person is a legitimate representative of the company.
They're either going to be driving a Northwestern Energy vehicle. Any Northwestern Energy employee can present a badge that'll show that they actually are an employee.
People are encouraged to immediately report any suspicious person claiming to be an employee with Northwestern Energy. In Butte, John Amy, MTN News.
And nearly 11 months after the tragic October 7th attack in Israel, the Justice Department announced charges against senior Hamas leaders for killing more than 40 Americans. It comes as protesters took to the streets in Israel again to demand a deal that releases the remaining hostages. CBS News' Jared Hill has more from New York.
These actions will not be our last.
Attorney General Merrick Garland with a stern warning after the Justice Department unsealed federal charges against 6 senior Hamas leaders for the killings of at least 43 Americans on October 7th. Garland says the department is also investigating the deaths of Americans, including 23-year-old Hirsch Goldberg Poland, as acts of terrorism. The 23-year-old was one of the 6 hostages found killed in Gaza over the weekend.
We will pursue the terrorists responsible for murdering Americans and those who illegally provide them with material support for the rest of their lives.
The DOJ says Yahya Sinwar and a group of other senior Hamas figures financed, directed, and oversaw a campaign to murder U.S. citizens and endanger U.S. national security, alleging this group orchestrated the killings and kidnappings. 3 of the defendants are dead. The others haven't been captured. In Tel Aviv, another round of massive protests as thousands demand Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu agree to a ceasefire deal to free remaining hostages. Netanyahu, defying the outcry, points to the Philadelphia corridor as a key sticking point. He says Israel must keep troops in the narrow strip between Gaza and Egypt to prevent Hamas from smuggling in weapons. Yesterday, Netanyahu's political rival, former Israeli Defense Minister Benny Gantz, pushed back, saying the corridor isn't an existential threat and the hostages must be returned, even at a heavy price. Jared Hill, CBS News.
And the Biden administration reiterated yesterday that it is working around the clock with allies to help reach a ceasefire and hostage release deal. The White House also says that administration officials are in constant contact with Israeli counterparts. Now, back in some mining city news, Butte-Silver Bow County is hoping to get public input on how to make Uptown Butte more accessible. Our Megan Thompson speaks with the county's ADA coordinator and a business owner who recently completed a ramp outside of her medical facility.
Well, after a year-long process, this medical facility located here in Uptown Butte finally has an ADA-compliant ramp. And now the city says that even though there's no policy in place, they're working towards building a more accessible Butte.
We're building a ramp. I just hope that everybody understands that this was a super long process. Hopefully it makes way for change so that the next person, really doesn't end up in the position we were in.
Top Deck Medical Aesthetics and Wellness opened its doors about a year ago with the goal of serving anyone seeking medical care. Jamie Decker, a nurse practitioner and owner of the facility, says in order to reach that goal, she needed to construct an ADA-compliant ramp on the public right-of-way. In April, after months of discussions with the city, the Council of Commissioners voted to allow construction of the ramp.
Something that really great and really positive that came out of that experience was this need to reevaluate our policies and programs to really make sure that they're equitable, right? Because that's great that Ms. Decker has her one ramp, but one ramp is only the beginning.
James Olette is the ADA coordinator for Butte-Silver Bow. He says the next step in creating public policy for this issue is to get public input.
So we really need the public support, not just for feedback, but to also show that this is a community that really believes in accessibility.
We've really gotten some really good support, comments, things along the way. I just hope that it makes way for change.
A meeting seeking public input will be held on September 26th at the Butte-Silver Bow Archives. To learn more about the ADA compliance meeting and an online survey, head to our website. In Butte, Megan Thompson, MTN News.
And voters in the Central Valley Fire District may be thinking deja vu come this November. That's because the fire district is once again asking for voters for another levy on this year's ballot. Our Edgar Cedillo explains why officials are asking once again.
Last year, residents in the Central Valley Fire District turned down a levy that would have raised money for the fire district. This year, the fire district is once again asking voters to approve a new levy that would raise more money for the fire district.
Good girl.
This will be my first year paying taxes officially as a homeowner. I'm not looking forward to it, but it's something that needs to be done.
Danica Zervinko recently moved to Belgrade from Bozeman. As a first-time home buyer, she isn't surprised by the high property taxes and the possibility of them going up.
Not really surprised if things kind of get increased. I feel like we're seeing everything increase as it is, and I feel like if it's for a good benefit and we see a decrease in fires, that would be phenomenal.
Last November, around 66% of voters rejected raising taxes for the Central Valley Fire District. This year, they're once again asking voters for more money.
The district's asking voters to consider a 23 mil levy. It would replace a 10 mil levy.
Central Valley's new fire chief, Jay Whitworth, says that the district is currently operating on an operational deficit.
Our budget actually exceeds what our incomes are.
Which is why the district is asking voters to approve a mill levy that would raise nearly $4 million a year and cost homeowners around $187 per year for a home that's assessed at $600,000.
If this does not pass, we do run the risk of having to adjust those service levels in the future.
Which could mean longer response times.
What may happen in the future is that the response times may be lengthened, so it may take longer.
Whitworth says he feels optimistic that the levy could pass this go-around, but still understands some of the residents in the district might have their reservations.
Of course, we're all concerned, and many of the residents of this whole district are concerned that it may not pass because they understand that that could affect the service levels.
In Belgrade, Edgar Cedillo, MTN News.
Now to Fort Benton. There is a Montana artist there that creates his renditions using an unlikely medium. MTN's James Rowland spoke with him and has more on the inspiration behind his newest piece.
In Fort Benton, there's a very unique artist who takes parts of the West and parts of horse culture to make beautiful pieces of artwork like this. His name is Dale. And Dale makes some beautiful work.
I do life-sized animals out of used horseshoes. And as you can see, they're all a variety of different animals that I've done over the years. Been doing it since 2002.
His art focuses mostly on Western themes.
These buffalo, I've got two different styles of buffalo. This is kind of a fighting buffalo. Got his head down, all the shoes to make it look like the matting on the shoulders and the legs. And they came out really good. My other style, he's got his head up in the air and the hump as tall as me. He's big.
Dale has multiple pieces around Montana and out of state.
Well, I used to show in different places. I've shown in Great Falls, I've shown in Helena, Miles City, Dillon. I've shown all over the, different parts of the state. And
while Dale used to do more shows, now most of his sales are online or even just out of his front yard. His most recent sculpture is also his largest yet.
This is my last one. This is my pride and joy here. I don't know if you can see all the different colors, but once it was powder coated, it came out absolutely gorgeous, I think. And this was a real challenge. I'd finish it and I'd get back and look at it. One horn was higher than the other or something like that. So then I had to cut it off and redo it and then haul it into the powder coater, and he sandblasted it and painted it. It has had a lot of attention. There's about 1,000 shoes in that. Well, it was a challenge to do all the way through. It was the hardest one I've ever done. And after I had it finished up with the powder coating and everything, it has my heart. It's my favorite one. Everybody's got their own thing, and there's a lot of people build things out of plate and gears and all that kind of stuff. I didn't see anybody building big horseshoe sculptures out of horseshoes.
In Fort Benton, I'm James Rowland, MTN News.
Well, and talk about a labor of love, Matt.
Yeah, a lot of work, a lot of dedication, and you just hear him talk about, oh, this one was too high, I had to take it off. And
just take the whole horn off and redo it, like it's easy.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, whatever. Pretty incredible stuff over in Fort Benton. All right, time for a quick break, but before we do, Matt, it's time to play an age-old game. Matt, what is this thing? Now,
this one I'm stumped on.
Yep. Do you want me to give you a hint?
Yeah.
Okay,
It's
everyone at home.
It's in the pig family, right?
Well, everyone at home, you can play it too. See if you can beat our resident zoologist, Matt Elwell here. This is in Australia. Does that help at all?
Well, it
This
could.
is down under.
It's not a wallaby.
No, it's small.
Okay.
It's small. Okay, I'm
I
gonna
don't
give
know.
it to you in
You're
3,
gonna have to help me.
2, This is a critically endangered. I was looking for northern hairy-nosed wombat.
Well, that was on my next. That was my next guess.
Was the northern hairy-nosed wombat on your next guess?
No,
I'm sorry
it
about
was
that.
not.
Yeah, well, I'm sorry to steal your thunder a little
cute,
bit.
though.
Isn't he a cute little guy? Well, this is actually making quite the big splash down under because critically endangered this particular species of wombat is. And so this was just caught on a trail cam. As you can see, some motion was detected, light goes on, camera starts rolling. So it's pretty incredible that they were
That's
able
awesome.
to find it down there. So
That's a fun game to play.
Yeah, absolutely.
Stump the chump, right?
well, I try my best. Better luck next
we
time,
go.
Matt. Northern hairy-nosed wombat for the win.
Okay.
All right, time to take a quick break here on Montana This Morning. When we come back, though, we may not be in the locker room, but we're going to talk a little sports. The WNBA got a lot of momentum this season, a lot of which thanks to one particular player. We're going to have that, plus your top stories and a look at your forecast when we come back.